Welcome back to the Dolor Factor. I'm going to ask you a question, and there's so many answers. Here's the question. Why is it that so many of us, men and women, remain in relationships that are not good for us? Principally, I'm talking about emotional relationships, but it can also be our careers. We could be in a job that we don't like, but we just stay in it. But for the purpose of this show, let's think about the emotional relationships. Why do so many of us remain in them and we know that they're not good for us? And ladies, don't sit there and think, oh yes, that man is no good, so on and so forth. It's also the men too. I know some really good men who stay in a relationship and the woman, honestly, they don't deserve a good man like that because they don't treat him well enough. Dr. Joseph, what's your take on this?
Well, I would like to start off by saying that, again, through experience, there was this relationship that one of my first relationships I went through. And I experienced a little, beating from the man, although he said that he loved me. No, I have not experienced that by somebody telling me what it feels like. I actually, experienced it to the point that that man almost killed me.
Why did you stay?
I think it was the ignorance, the fact that I was not aware at the time of my power of will, my mindset. I was very, inexperienced. But still, I did not use that inexperience, as an opportunity to stay in that relationship further. I decided, you know what? It's a feeling that you get that you feel that that man is the only man in the world for you. At the time, that's how I felt. And then he would come and say, I'm sorry, forgive me. And, you feel like you don't want to have to start another relationship. That is a man you'd like to marry. But it still does not give you any reason to stay in a relationship like that. So I got out. But at the time that I got out, it had nothing to do with my willpower. I find it was not right. I find it was to the point that I could have died, and I decided that I really wanted to do something about it.
Did other people around you know that this was happening?
No, because when I approached his family members at the time, they were like, oh, well, he's not that kind of person. But I want to tell the viewers out there that if you're presently in a relationship like that, it's not worth it. Whether the man has money, whether you feel that you do not want to start over, nothing is worth your life. And I decided, you know what, that when I leave, I would start over. It took me some time before I could maybe get into another relationship, but I wanted to get rid of that hate, because what happens when you move into another relationship with the hate, the person that you are in the relationship with will go to suffer all your, your bad karma and your negativity. So I was able to forgive that man, and I can tell you, it feels great. But it's challenging because it may sound easy. It's not. It is challenging. But the point is that I love myself too much to stay, to, continue experiencing being beaten for no reason.
But a lot of people could say, and I'm sure, but we spoke about this briefly, the man is the breadwinner. So even though he does certain things to me, I have nowhere to go. That's number one. Number two, women, and I think in the Caribbean, we are very proud and we don't want anyone to know. Most of the time people know even before we do.
Right.
So it's one thing to say it and another thing to do it, and to perhaps get yourself in a position where you can do something about it. A lot of women may feel that they're not educated enough, so they will not be able to get a job. So it could be, a solution could be to try and educate yourself so that eventually that you can leave. But at the same time, when violence is involved, you cannot wait, because you never know.
You never know the moment of your death.
Why is it that a lot of the time people make excuses for violent people? Why do we think that, it'll stop or it's not their fault? And the worst thing is when I hear people say, I deserved it. I've heard that. I deserved it. I said something wrong. Or he's told me not to say that before and I said it. I deserve it.
It's not even right for a parent to beat a child in that sense, if that child is really trying. And I mean, when you have to think of a man beating you like he's your father, that's bad. And it doesn't matter what you do or you do not deserve it. If you love yourself, you will get out of that relationship. And if you are not ashamed of yourself, it's easier said. It's easier for you to make a move. Now, it doesn't matter if that man is the one that built a mansion. You have to be willing at the moment to get out of it and to start all over. You may not have anything, but it's best to start all over again.
I've heard people say, but I love him or I love her. Love, you know, love should be something that you should be comfortable in. And we all know what is good and what is bad. And if something is bad, how can it be love?
Right. Well, besides saying I love her or I love him, and it should be a moment of truth to yourself, honesty to yourself. You know to yourself that you do not love that man. He does not love you. Because if he loves you, he would not beat you. He'd maybe address whatever problem at the time that you all had, you know, and you sit and you discuss it properly. But the fact that he's beating you, that's not love. And if you see it that way, then it means you need to find out what true love is and start by loving yourself.
But a lot of people come from broken families, broken homes where they've seen that happening, and they've seen it happening continuously over the years. They've seen, you know, one parent beat up on the other, but the parents have been together for 20, 30 years. So the child thinks that if they're in that kind of relationship, well, my parents went through it, they lived, they're still together now, at least the family is together, and they put up with that.
Well, it is wrong because again, it has nothing to do with your parents or anybody else, maybe a neighbor, your friends. You may have a good friend, and if that good friend is telling you stay in it because the man or the woman has that and this, it's not right. It's all about you asking yourself just one question. How long do you want to live? And if your life has purpose and you want to live, at least maybe see if you have children, see them grow up, you will tell yourself it's time to get out.
And that's another thing. We underestimate just how much our children see, hear, and take on. Because sometimes the children act like little soldiers, and the children are actually looking after, let's say, the mother who's been beaten. The father goes off wherever, and the child is looking after the mother. That should not happen, and that happens a lot. And even if the child doesn't physically look after the mother, mentally that child is scarred with all those images of hearing and seeing and
later on in life.
so, you know, if a woman is in that situation, maybe she can think about what it's doing to her child and say, you know, even if I feel I can't leave, I have to leave because I don't want my child to think that this is the way to live.
Right.
Because that child could get themselves in that kind of relationship and stay with it.
Most times, you know, it happens. It happens. Yes. But with the woman, when she decides to get out of it because of her child, it's a good thing. Sometimes they may say to, oh, I will stay, you know, in that relationship because I do not want my child to grow up without a father. It's not even worth that. It's not worth that because at the time when I got out of the relationship, I said I'm not doing it for anybody but myself. And at some point in life, I mean, my child would have to understand the reason why. And I'm happy that I made that decision. And when I explained that to my child, I told her never get yourself involved in a relationship where a man has to beat you. Once you get one blow, that's a sign that you have to end it. I could have been dead today, you know, because I told you the man was a real woman beater. And when you have experienced something like that, within for me, that is why I'm able to write my books. I can go out, I can motivate, I can counsel, because I know it's not right to love somebody more than yourself, more than God. Because you feel, well, they have this and they have, you know, they have the material things.
Yes.
It's not worth it.
Yes, I suppose that is the absolute bottom line. You cannot love anyone, any living physical person, more than you love yourself. This is the Dolor Factor. We'll be right back.